All right, it's time for Rick Party's Notebook, and we got a special guest. And before we get into it, let me just say this. Everybody's got a secret, some small, some buried so deep, you almost forget that it's there. But here's a truth that nobody really says out loud. Secrets, they don't stay quiet forever. They wait, they grow, and one day they show up at your front door. And that's exactly what this next story is about. It's about a man living what looks like the perfect life. I know we've all seen this before until a past decision comes back in the form of a son that he never dealt with, right? And now everything changes. We're talking about family, trust, identity, and that's the heartbeat behind this new film, The Secret Between Us. It hits AMC theaters this Easter weekend, and the woman behind the story, well, she didn't just write the story, she lived enough life to understand it. And we're talking about filmmaker, storyteller, and the founder of Hidden Gem Entertainment, Tamera Hill. Tamara, welcome to Rick Party's Notebook.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, Tamara, I kept waiting by my mailbox, and I said I know I'm going to get an invitation to Atlanta, and I just kept checking, and it just
Oh,
never came.
I'm so sorry you didn't get an
But that's
invitation.
okay.
You have to talk to my
Yeah,
team about that.
absolutely.
We
Listen, I
would
I
have
got the
loved to
direct
have
connect here
you.
now. I'll catch the next one. I'll catch the next one.
Sure.
Well, listen, Tamara, this story it hits very deep. Betrayal, family redemption. What part of this story felt the most personal to you?
Well, the most I would say the uninvited guest part where Torrance shows up on Jack's doorstep. And for
Hmm.
me, it was checking my Facebook messages. And you know how you have those messages that people are not friends with you. And so they kind of,
Of course,
but you have to check that box as well. So I'm going through this
exactly.
box and I see this message. And so I read it, and it's from a young lady who thinks that we may share the same father. So
Ooh.
that was very surprising, to me. So that's how this is similar to this film. It was a surprise, just like it was for Jack, for his son after 28 years, after he's built his life with his family without his son, mind you. And all of a sudden, this young man shows up at his doorstep. It feels almost like invasive in a way, it's like, what is this? So when I go to my father and I ask him about this, he's kind of, like, It could be, maybe." At first it was maybe, until he
So
finally
that
admitted it. Yeah.
so that moment for you is it scary? Is it exciting? A young lady, hey, I've got another sibling, or
Uh-huh.
dad, why didn't you tell me? What was that like for you? What were the feelings that you were going
You
through?
know, I was a little bit numb and a little bit
Mhm.
upset at the same time. My dad, he's been the apple of my eye, you know, since I can remember, and your dad is your first love, right? And
Yeah.
you trust what they say, and we have built this life with my mom and my other siblings or whatnot. So I don't know that there's someone else out there. And then to hear this story that even my mom uh knew about it. My mom
Mm.
knew. They told me the story where they were in the grocery store,
Okay.
and I was small at the time, and they saw his ex-girlfriend in the grocery store and this little girl that looked exactly like me, exactly like
Mm.
me. And my mom and dad never even spoke about it. It was just a knowing that this little girl was possibly my dad's. And they never spoke about it again. And then after all this time, we hear in the story, unfolds about what happened. So it's really we're still in this story. The story is not finished
Yeah.
in my family. It's still new. It's we haven't explored everything, with the relationship, with my
Oh wow.
sister, my half sister. So it's still
Mhm.
new for me. And the story, The Secret Between Us, is loosely based on my life. My
Wow.
story is still going.
The core of this film, this man, he had a perfect life on the outside.
Mhm.
How many people right now are, would you say, are living that same kind of illusion?
I would say, most people are, putting
Mm,
their best foot forward and living a facade, with their lives, and a lot of people in our community, especially, the Black family, our families are full of secrets. Is
mhm.
what's done in this house, it stays in this house. I'm sure you're familiar with that, you
Of
know.
course,
You
yes.
better not tell,
Yeah,
our family secret or whatnot. But I think we're living in a day now where it's time to tell the truth. It's time to
yeah.
break up that fallow ground, so to speak, and begin to tell the truth because it matters, for our children and our children's children. We don't want to create that type of generational curse. Um, with our families. We want to have a foundation of truth and being honest with one another and not having secrets in our family. So that's very important.
Oftentimes when we look at our parents and they make decisions, we never really ask why. And I like to think that some adults are kids that have just never been corrected. Why do you think? And maybe you ask yourself this why? Why do you think people keep secrets even when they know that it's going to cost them later in life?
Pain, pain.
Mm,
They don't want to experience the pain that it will cause them to feel because they've put it back in the recesses of their mind and pushed it down into, their souls or whatnot. But all along, this is festering and it's coming out
hmm
in different ways, in your life. And you may think that this thing is lying dormant, but it has to come out. It has to.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just an avoidance of pain and
Mm,
not wanting your loved ones to actually see that you're not perfect, that you make mistakes, and you want to keep up this facade, to make this person think that way. But we're all human, right?
yeah.
And that's what I tried to do with my girls. I tell my girls, the truth. Even I went through a divorce, and when my child was old enough, I
hmm
set her down and I told her the truth about
Yeah.
everything because I think she deserves to know. I don't think those things should be hidden and she finds out about it later. Or maybe something surfaces in her life, that she's wondering, where did I get this from? Where did this come
hmm
from? Where did I learn this from? I don't want her to be blindsided, by anything as well. So we were able to sit down and have a very honest conversation, as to the whys, because I
hmm
knew that she was struggling with pain, from the divorce. I knew that she had her own little private personal thoughts about
Yeah.
what may have happened, and wasn't particularly sure. And, so I think it's very important to be honest, to show your children and your family your humanness and be truthful.
Yeah. Does that come in the form of, um, he did this, or I did that, or we made a mistake?
We
How does that look? We.
We
I love that.
we made
I
a
love that.
mistake, and that's
Yeah.
that's the way, I had that conversation with my daughter, and it was like, we made the mistake. There were things that I contributed to the marriage, that caused it to end as well. In the
I
story
love
of the
that.
secret between us, I purposely do not point the finger at Wanda, at Jack, and the audience wants to do that so bad. They wanted to be mad at Jack for what he did. But as the story unfolds, we see what Wanda contributed to this as well. What Jack did, not to excuse what he did and not to excuse what she did, but they both played a part in what happened.
Yeah. Speaking of both the father and son, they have a very dynamic relationship between Jack and
Mhm.
Torrance, and it's very heavy. What were you trying to say about fatherhood uh, through this entire story?
Oh, wow. Jack, or I'll say Torrance, he didn't
Hmm.
know who he was. He didn't know his
Right.
identity. He said, to his, assistant, he says, "I wanna know my whys. I wanna know who
Hmm.
I am, why I do the things I do. What type of man is he? Because I know I mirror that." And it was important for him to know about his identity, and for every man, that is important, right?
Hmm.
And so
Right.
when he is able to reconnect with his father, that answered a lot of questions for him about who he
Right.
was and the type of man that Jack was, and that was able to answer those questions that he felt lost, you know, throughout life, and he's trying to build on a cracked foundation, so to speak, because in a relationship you need both the mother and the father. And in the Black
Right.
community, unfortunately, we have a lot of young men who are being raised by single mothers. Not saying that you can't
Yeah.
be successful, not saying that, anything is wrong with that. Sometimes, that's just the hand that you are dealt. But it's so
Yeah.
important for your father to be in your life. That's that missing piece that every young man needs. So that was truly an important part of the story. Just seeing them come together and being able to bond, and him being able to um I don't want to give away the story. Jack being able to
Right.
experience those things that he missed with his son was very important to Jack. Jack needed something from this as well, and he
Right.
got to experience those things from his son. So without giving too much away, I'm just going to leave that right there.
So let's talk about the cast and creative vision you brought together. Strong cast. Tell us about the cast and really just what made this group the right voices for the story.
Absolutely. As I was writing the script, Michael Jai kept coming to my mind. I knew I wanted a manly
Yeah.
man to play this particular role, and someone that
Uh-huh.
people respect. And he kept coming to mind. And previously on another project that I did, Never Heard, he was supposed to play the lead on that, and him, the producer, couldn't see eye to eye, something like that. But thank God Michael remembered the writer because he really liked the script. So I reached out to Michael's management, and it seemed like it was going to be a no go. And I was like, you know
Right.
what? I'm going to have to do this thing. I'm going to have to jump over the fence and go in the backyard and open up the door. So I called a friend and I told them, I said, "Hey, I need to get in contact with Mike, tell him I'm trying to get in contact
Yeah.
with him. I have this beautiful story that I would like for him to read." So they gave me his he knew who I was. He was like, "Sure, give her my email, have her send it." I sent it over to him. He read it, called me the next day. He was like, "Hey, I think we got ourselves a classic." And he was
Oh
on board.
man.
He was like, "I'll handle, management or whatnot. I'm coming on board." And then from there, we had already hired someone for the role of Wanda, and it was a great choice. But he says, "Tamara, what do you think about Lisa Arundel?" And I was like, "You know what? She's one of my favorite actresses. Let's do it." And so we ended up going another route with Lisa, and I'm so glad we did because the chemistry is absolutely amazing. And Victoria Rowell, Reggie Curley, one of the producers of the film, brought her in, and we just kind of handpicked everybody that we wanted to be in this film, and it just worked out to be amazing. Everybody brought their A game. We shot this film in 10 days, so which is kind of
And how
absolutely
many days?
unbelievable when you when you
Did you
think
say
about
you
it,
said
10
10
days.
days?
So everybody
Wow.
came with their A
Okay.
game. So I think the script itself really laid a strong foundation, and everybody really understood the vision and the assignment coming in. And look, you have 30 plus years from a lot of these. Michael's a veteran, Victoria, Lisa's a veteran as well in the industry. So, I was a little intimidated to tell you the truth. When they came,
Really?
I'm like, look at all this
I
talent,
mean I mean,
all
l
these
listen,
people.
being 25 years old yourself, I can understand that, so,
Oh, thank you. I wish.
Right.
Tack on about 20 to that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so them coming on the set, I was a little, nervous at first, but after, that first few hours or so, and them being so gracious and making me feel welcome, we just had a good time. It was a good collaborative effort on both parts, no matter how much you know or what you don't know, when you come together with your visions, it's a great collaboration, and we had so much fun on set. It was hard work, 12-hour days, 10 days, but we got it done, and we made something really beautiful and really meaningful.
It's interesting, I was listening to the radio promo, and I heard Keith Sweat as the trailer voice. I'm like,
Yes,
"Okay, Keith Sweat, the executive producer."
yes.
Like, how did that influence the emotional tone of this film?
Um, well, Keith will tell you that when he
Yeah,
saw this film, Keith came. Let me tell you, Keith is the executive producer on this film. He's
right.
one of them. And when he came on to this film, he was just giving money
Mhm,
because, he knows Michael, cool with Michael, whatever, and he wanted to put money. He's
mhm.
like, man, this film's good. So he puts money in, but we have the first cut, right? And we send this over to Keith, and he's crying. He wanted to call me
Oh,
immediately. He said,
wow.
"You got me crying on this film,"
No,
you know?
Keith is more like, "What's up, baby? You got
Right,
me
right,
crying over
right. And
here."
he was just like, "I can't believe this." He was immediately drawn to the film and invested
I love that.
in this film, and everybody that he's connected with, he's been talking about this film. You have got to see this film. So he has been an integral part of where we are right now with this film, just him talking about it everywhere that he goes. That's why we're in AMC theaters. I didn't see
Yeah.
it going to AMC theaters. I thought we were gonna go straight to streaming, and that was gonna be that. It's in a sea of other films. And Keith was like, "No, no, 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 not this film." He said, "This one's special. This
Mm.
one needs to go to theaters." And I was like, "Well, how are we gonna do that?" And then I thought about this program that I heard about with AMC. I said, okay, we're gonna try that route. And it was months we had submitted it, and it was months we didn't hear anything. And I called a girlfriend of mine who's a producer, and she gave me a name of someone at AMC, and I reached out to them, and they pulled the film and they watched it and loved it. And the rest is history.
Wow.
That's why we're in AMC theaters. So Keith is an
I
integral
love
part
this.
of that.
I love this. And Tamara, really quick before you go, what's one thing you want people to carry with them after they watch the story?
Forgiveness, forgiveness.
Mm.
It was important for me to show the journey of what forgiveness looks like and what it should look like in a family. And I'm hoping that people will learn from this and be able to start their own journeys and their own families of truth and forgiveness and redemption.
I love that. The movie is called The Secret Between Us, hitting AMC theaters this weekend.
Yes.
She's the filmmaker, she's the storyteller, she's the founder of Hidden Gem Entertainment. Tamara Hill, thank you so much. Thank you for coming by Rick Party's
And thank
Notebook.
you for having me. Next red carpet, okay?
Next red carpet, all
All
right?
right.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna say, remember me? Take
Take
care.
care. Bye bye.